former circuit court judge to adopt the consent calendar,
Second.
supported by Commissioner Osmer. Any other discussion? If not, all those in favor, oh no, roll call.
Roll call.
Commissioner LaHaye,
Yes.
Commissioner Osmer,
Yes.
Commissioner Lalone,
Yes.
Commissioner Peterson,
Yes.
Commissioner Fournier,
Yes.
Commissioner Francisco,
Yes.
Commissioner Konashevsky,
Yes.
Commissioner Kozlowski.
Yes. Bills, motion to bills. Are there any bills or anybody with, well, we'll do those after. Any bills that were on the agenda? Any questions? Anybody have any questions for those bills? If not,
I'll make a motion.
a motion by Commissioner Malone to pay the bills, support by Commissioner LaHaye. Any other discussion? If not, roll call.
Commissioner Osmer,
Yes.
Commissioner Lalone,
Yes.
Commissioner Peterson,
Yes.
Commissioner Fournier,
Yes.
Commissioner Francisco,
Yes.
Commissioner Konashevsky,
Yes.
Commissioner LaHaye,
Yes.
Commissioner Kozlowski.
Yes. Bill,
Yeah, okay, we have a couple bills outstanding that come in that have to be paid. They weren't budgeted for. We have Amy's cell talent. The balance due on it is $4,750. We have to make an adjustment from line item 101-941-955-000 to 101-200-801-000, right, Kim?
Yes, and you are going to take $10,000
$10,000.
from line item to the professional services. And that way you will have enough in that budgeted line item to pay the Amy cell bill.
So I'll make that motion.
I'll support. We have a motion and support. Any questions or discussion on that? If not, roll call, please.
Commissioner LaLonde,
Yes.
Commissioner Peterson,
Yes.
Commissioner Fournier,
Yes.
Commissioner Francisco,
Yes.
Commissioner Konashesky,
Yes.
Commissioner LaHaye,
Yes.
Commissioner Osmer,
Yes.
Commissioner Kozlowski.
Yes.
Okay, we have Plant Moran, building studies, balance due of 66,557.85. It wasn't in the budget rate, Jennifer.
Right.
So we have to take that money out of the building and grounds fund, which was supposed to come out of anyway. 631,265,975,006 for 6,557.85. And I'll make that a motion.
A motion by Commissioner Peterson,
I'll support.
support by Commissioner LaLonde. Any discussion? If not, roll call, please.
Commissioner Peterson,
Yes.
Commissioner Fournier,
Yes.
Commissioner Francisco,
Yes.
Commissioner Konashesky,
Yes.
Commissioner LaHaye,
Yes.
Commissioner Osmer,
Yes.
Commissioner LaLonde,
Yes.
Commissioner Kozlowski.
Yes.
Okay, and we have another, we have to create a line item for professional witness fees reimbursement. Kim, will you explain it a little bit?
Yeah, so this is out of the medical examiner's budget within the general fund. We have never paid, so we have never paid for professional witness fees out of that department as of yet, so that's why we need to create that line item. It's indicated that there will probably be a few more of these invoices coming throughout the year. So we will create the line item 101-648-811.000, professional witness fees within the medical examiner's budget. And then transfer, I believe we agreed on
Yeah.
$2,000 from the administrative service line item, which is 101-648-806.000. Transfer 2,000 from there and put into the professional witness reimbursement fees so that we can, again, not affect our bottom line, but get the bills paid.
Make that motion.
So we have a motion by Commissioner Peterson,
I'll support.
support by Commissioner Fournier. Any discussion? If not, the roll call, please.
Commissioner Fournier,
Yes.
Commissioner Francisco,
Yes.
Commissioner Konashesky,
Yes.
Commissioner LaHaye,
Yes.
Commissioner Osmer, Commissioner LaLonde,
Yes.
Commissioner Peterson,
Yes.
Commissioner Kozlowski.
Yes. Next up, we have Amy Cell Talent. Update on the candidate. Is this a,
She is on Zoom.
okay.
You skip budget,
Did I? I'm sorry.
that's okay.
1 second, Amy. Got a little ahead of myself here. So budget adjustments. We have the one, it looks like just the one budget adjustment. I'd look for motion to approve that.
Motion.
So we have a motion by Commissioner Fournier. I'll support. And support by Commissioner Francisco. Any discussion on that one? I guess the discussion that I have, because I know that originally, I think it was at the Courts and Public Safety, talked about that, and I think we approved the 2250. I see the bill was 221680. Are we gonna approve just to pay the 221680? Assume? Because we're just paying the bill.
Pay the bill.
The other thing, because I remember specifically that when we were in the, sure what the holdup was, but when we had our Court and Public Safety meeting, the bill was supposed to be transferred over and I think we just got that bill. Am I correct?
Which one?
It's the 221680 for the cardiac monitor.
Repair.
Yes, we just received the invoice a couple of weeks ago.
Was there, because there was a delay, because I thought we were supposed to get that back in, I think it's December, January.
Don't know exactly what the holdup was, whether it's cities and counties and, but it was a bill that swept through.
Okay.
We inquired as to why it wasn't paid yet, and Jennifer directed us to she did.
All right, any other discussion? If not, we'll do a roll call.
Commissioner Francisco,
Yes.
Commissioner Konashevsky,
Yes.
Commissioner LaHaye,
Yes.
Commissioner Osmer,
Yes.
Commissioner LaLonge,
Yes.
Commissioner Peterson,
Yes.
Commissioner Fournier,
Yes.
Commissioner Kozlowski.
Yes. Okay, now we'll be for Amy Sal. Hello? Can you hear us? Okay. So, well, one, I think, before we start, I think, because we're having a discussion, Jesse, you'd probably be recused for any discussion in this. So do we, motion on that?
We kind of just
We have.
confused.
Life?
I think the one that I did at the beginning.
Yes.
Okay, okay. Do you have any comments or anything you'd like to let us know, Amy?
Not particularly. The goal for this conversation, from my perspective, is to, have a deliberation on next steps, which could usually be one of three things. Either to move forward and enter into negotiations with a candidate, or to have additional interviews with the candidate pool that you have, or to relaunch the search. So I'm happy to provide guidance and support, but really it's your opportunity to deliberate on the next steps for Alpena County.
Any discussion? Questions? Comments? Squirrel,
Squirrel.
crickets.
So we can vote today on the position.
So the three
my
things she
question.
said is enter into an agreement, and we can have further discussion to start over. And what was the third one?
Or relaunch for
Oh,
more,
relaunch.
relaunch the advertisement,
Well, that's
the third.
isn't that basically starting over?
starting over, yeah,
She
basically.
said we can conduct further interviews.
Or
Candidates.
further interviews.
Definitely against. Me personally, I don't want to start over.
I think it's a waste of taxpayers' money, but other than that.
I think we should stay status quo, just do what we're doing right now. And not replace, commissioner, or not, administrator.
So I will have a comment on that. So after reading the article, I think one of the things that was missed in that article, if you read the newspaper on Saturday, was the comment by the individuals that were here on Friday, that they weren't opposed to hiring the position, because one of the things that I think most people maybe miss is that we have had a person in that position for a long time. Tammy was doing this position before Mary Catherine. Tammy has been here forever, and granted, I think going back to when Jeff, Mr. Thornton, was here, and I'm not sure how that worked back then, but I think people miss that we literally have had a person, regardless of what you want to call it, we have had a person in that position for a long time. So to say that I think we go status quo is, and again, I don't want to say that I'm not opposed to doing work, because I've been doing a lot of work since, which has been one of the main reasons that I have left the base. Because the last, probably, I'd say the last 2 months, and more so the last month of me dealing with full-time job and trying to balance this has been extremely difficult. And I'm not trying to call anybody out, but my wife read that article and she had it talking to me. So I don't think she's extremely thrilled if that were to move forward that way. And I'm not doubting that Jennifer and Lynn and Kim can do that. But I need to make sure that we realize that we have had a person in this position for a long time, whether you want to call it a county administrator, executive manager, we have had that person. So to say that we go status quo is not really technically, I mean, yes, it's status quo of what we have now. But we have not had a person, or we've had a person in that position for a long time. So I think everyone needs to make sure that we realize that to go status quo is a lot of work on everybody else. And I'm gonna I'll speak for myself. It isn't fair to me to do that. And I'm willing to do whatever I need to make this work. But I don't think it's fair to Jennifer. I don't think it's fair to Lynn, and I don't think it's fair to Kim. I've been dealing with Jennifer on a lot of stuff, and I put a lot of, I don't know if I think when I say me, it's coming from the board. So I know we put a lot of expectations on Jennifer, and she's done an awesome job. But again, I don't think that the intent should be we just continue on as is, because and maybe I'm just dragging this out, but we have had that person in some sort of fashion for years. So that's my spiel. I don't know if anyone else has anything that they
I do.
want.
I'm very tired. I was still awake at 2:30 this morning. Being a county commissioner is not easy. I hate to second guess myself. Normally when I decide this is how I'm going to vote, I stick to it. Last night I went over through so much talking to myself, but I do believe the position does need to be filled. At first I thought, no. But then I thought of Jennifer, I thought of Lynn, I thought of Kim, and I thought of John. Is it fair for us to throw the work at them? I know we have in the basement, the girls work hard to the point where they're stressed. They have to take 2 days off. They just can't go any further. That's not good. Jennifer, being an HR person, she did her job and she did the administrator's job. That's not good. She's a HR person. To put her back, strictly HR, to have just the 2 girls downstairs. One gets sick, that leaves one to do it all. They can't do it. John, being chair, it's not fair to him to say, hey, you're chair, you're retired, or quit your job. And you're gonna do it all, and we're gonna sit back because you're chair, it's your job. No, it's not. He didn't take this job to live his life at the courthouse. It's not being fair to John. Some of the county commissioners here sitting at this table stepped down, said, I'm not doing that, I'm not doing that, and I'm not doing that. Guess who did it? Trying the other commissioners to throw more on them, throwing more on John. He had a full-time job. So, yes, I believe that position should be filled. With that being said,
I just want to chime in a little bit if I could, that before I had started, I'm pretty sure the commissioner's office only had 3 people down there. And I haven't talked too much to Lynn about it, but I have talked to Kim and they think that we're able to handle this. I know that coming up, we are going to have to rely on the board chairs. We have union negotiations coming up, so I know we're going to have the personnel chair there and hopefully the board chair. And I know the commissioners have stepped up a lot. And if they, at any time, they think that they're taking on too much, they can have a discussion with us. But I think that it would be a huge savings to the county to try to continue the way that it is. We've always, from what my knowledge, we've always had 3 people down there. So there's other departments that are begging for an extra person. And if we think we can handle it, I think we should try it.
we always did have 3 people down there, and one was Tammy Bates.
And I think that she was
She
the
was like
executive manager and HR.
to our county, and we had the 2 girls. Now we have HR down there.
Mhm.
We never had HR. That was always done by the clerk. That's why HR is down there now, because we have HR, which cost us 80-some thousand a year more, which. So that's why I leave 2 people down there, 2 girls. Because you're HR. So I don't know, you're getting 3 people down there, which there are. 2 human resource and 2 girls.
My feeling on it, I mean, I've talked to Jennifer on it and she seems to feel she can handle it and I'm looking at saving $125,000 off the budget next year if we just keep doing. Sure, we might have to bump up them a little bit for the extra work they're doing, but I'm just looking at the budget part of it and I think we get through this year and going to next year, if we have to hire, we can't handle it. We're halfway through the year, a quarter of the year through the year. Leave it as it is till we get it figured out, get the budget figured out.
Well, I guess my question with that is, I'll tell you right now, this budget will not be fixed
No,
in 1 year.
No.
There's no way.
no.
So,
But we have the Headley rollback, that part of that process, if that goes through, you know, brings that budget a bit more in the line. And I think we just got so much stuff going on right now, to leave it where it's at, to bring somebody in new and throw them in that position. I'd rather save that money.
Yeah, we're not
picked it.
paying them any extra though. And how long do you think they're gonna keep up this pace? I think we're putting the cart before the horse. We haven't even voted on the candidates in front of us. So we should vote on the candidates in front of us. And then if it's a tie or we can't make a decision, then fine, address it. But what you're talking about right now is, okay, we'll just, we're gonna overload our 3 girls in the office. We're not gonna pay them any more money. You're just gonna keep doing it. The chair's just gonna throw himself under the bus. You're fine. You don't need to do anything else for your $13,000 for the year. You can handle it, right? You got this. And then what? So next year, we're gonna be like, okay, guess what, everybody? We're gonna waste another $10,000 of your taxpayers' money, do another search, go through this all over again. And then don't forget, so we're like, what, almost May? So that's 5 months since we started the search on top of them doing it all by themselves again. So like, you're looking at a year at least of this kind of load on our staff members. So when they quit, like 4 months from now, because their family's having a fit, or they don't want to do it, or they're stressed out and they don't have any more vacation time, then we're going to be like, oh no. I say we vote on the candidates in front of us, see where we sit, and then address the problem. Like if we are at a tie or at a loss.
Well, and I agree with Bill and Robin and John. This is a discussion that we had in January when we decided to replace this position. That's when we made this decision, as far as I'm concerned. I remember Bill being the chair, and when we were talking about not replacing that position, he said, there's no way in hell that I can handle all of that without that person. And he didn't have a full-time job either. And that's why we collectively as a group decided then to spend the money with Amy to fill that position. And we did so, and now here we are. So to me, that ship has sailed. I agree that we need to move forward, either choose one of these candidates or not. And really, I think we need to pick. I mean, if we start over again, it's gonna cost more money, more time. I think we just need to make a decision and get that person in the role and get moving forward.
So if I may, Mr. Chair, so at the meeting on the interviews on Friday, I made the statement that based upon, first of all, do we need a county administrator? Yeah, most likely we do. However, we just at that particular time had almost, in the budget meeting today, we talked about, nearly $100,000 of unknown expenses, whether they were forgotten, they were misfiled or whatever, or new information. So that's $100,000 in addition to the 1.5 or 6 or wherever our budget deficit is right now, that we have. So that being said, I think we'd have had a larger candidate pool had we set a compensation that was, and again, the recommendation of the agency that we hired to do this made a recommendation and the board chose not to follow the subject matter expert's recommendation. So we changed the compensation package and still only ended up with three. I think we'd have had a larger candidate pool to select from. So based upon that, and then again, the unknown expenses and who knows how many other unknown expenses unbudgeted expenses we're going to come up and have to deal with here in the very near future. So those two factors. And then the fact that we are working right now to get ballot language on the table, and we will know towards the end of this year if we're going to have additional revenues based upon a Headley roll-up or not, to be able to sustain our current operations. But that's why at that time on Friday, I voiced my opinion to concur with Commissioner Fournier, but now I guess I'm non-concurring with her to delay a selection of a candidate pool and determine where and defer until we can determine exactly what our revenues are going to look like based upon a vote this fall or this summer.
Last night, early this morning, I took a look at our budget. We budgeted 101,000 for county administrator. We spent $8,760. That leaves us a balance of $92,923. We owe $82,531 to 911. So we can deduct on the for the county administrator what we did not spend from the $82,530, which does not leave us a big balance. Yes, we can pay balance on that 911. Our deficit right now is at 1.5. I think we're doing extremely well. Yes, we're at 1.5. That will be down this year because we have cut a lot. We did budget for a county administrator. We've been talking about it since January. And I'm with the rest of the board here. I think we should just vote, find out where we're at and move on. We cannot continue.
So the only thing that I would add to our comment on with Commissioner Francisco's statement is that when we initially started this, and it was recommended to go higher on compensation. So my question, I guess, to those that want to move on or stay status quo would be, so if we had gone with 100 and I'm just going to say 130 because that was kind of where I remember a discussion being, if we'd gone with the 130 and we had more candidates, would we be sitting here talking today that we want to hold off because we found out we had an $82,000 deficit? That was my concern with going with the 130 is now we need to come up with an additional, amount of money, for Alpena. Oh, and by the way, and I'm not going to say what I heard, the exact amount, but I was at a meeting yesterday and Oscoda County, the individual, the commissioner that was there representing Oscoda County, during that discussion, we talked about what their county administrator is being paid. And I was shocked. And it's not shocked on the overpaid, it's the other end. And I was very surprised at what their county administrator was being paid. So, but my point is that I feel like we're having a discussion here about, we had the opportunity to look at a higher amount, a higher wage. Had we gone that direction back in January or whatever timeframe, January, February, I guess my question is, would we be talking today that should we hold off on trying to fill this position? or would we, if we had other candidates that put in for it, trying to figure out which one we're going to decide to go with. I guess that's my concern is that we're switching course here, like literally at the tail end. And this wasn't really, again, like Commissioner Konashevsky mentioned, that we had that opportunity to have these discussions at the very beginning in January, when we knew Mary Catherine was leaving, to decide to hold off. And it was decided that we were going to press forward with trying to fill the position. So I guess because I really don't want to start over. I don't think really any of us want to start over. I don't know if we say we'll hold off until next year to see if we're in a better situation, because I don't know that. I don't have a crystal ball to know that where we will be financially. It is a contract position, just like Mary Catherine's. I believe that, it was up to, she did have a 3-year contract. And if we were to move forward with this, it would obviously have to be a similar situation. I don't know. That's, I've probably done a lot of talking. I think we've all done a lot of talking, but I think we're at a point where a decision needs to be made, and we've gone through this process with Amy Sell. And another point that I want to make, and we've got Amy here. And I can say, and I'm gonna say that in this meeting today, that this process was pretty much between Amy Sell and Jennifer. None of us had any input on it. The candidates that we got back were giving to us on the recommendation by Amy Sell. It wasn't that, I know I've seen things out there that, this was a predetermined selection. But none of the Board of Commissioners had any contact with you during that time. Am I correct, Amy?
Correct.
Yeah. So what we got back is what she felt was what we would have best candidates to have a discussion with. And again, you're right. Maybe we would have had different candidates if we had more, the higher compensation. But I still go back to, had we done that, would we be debating today that we need to have this, have a look at where we are financial? Because that amount of money that if we move forward to pay the individual, I know it seems like a lot of money, but in the big scheme of things, that's a small little piece of the deficit. At least I do. And again, you guys have your own opinions and comments. And I don't know if anybody else has anything else that they want to
I do. I'm just going to say, I looked over all 3 candidates, very serious. There was 2 that caught my eye. But I'm just going to say, with that being said, I think our best bet, and I'm going to make the motion that we hire Jesse Osmer as the next county commissioner, or administrator. That's my motion.
I'll second that motion.
Do I have a motion and support? Any further discussion? Definitely want to make sure that we have discussion.
I'll give some feedback on my second. So, I actually thought Mr. Justin, I thought he interviewed well. I actually thought he gave some really good answers. I thought he showed a lot of promise. A lot of things that I liked that he talked about was teamwork and how to handle issues and things like that. I think in my eyes, I still have some questions about his past, which unfortunately, no offense, but was widely really focused on in the media, which I think did him a disservice. And I do have some questions about that. And if I personally was in his shoes, I would have cleared my record to a T. So that's why I didn't go with him. Mr. Thornton, I thought he interviewed well as well, but I didn't get as much as a teamwork issue from him. I really didn't get that feel, and there was a lot of things I really didn't care for, how he answered it. Our board works really well together. There is like very little division, which is very rare in a board of commissioners. We talk to each other, we bounce ideas off each other. We have a really, really good board, and it's very important that the administrator person can work well with every single board member on what level they need. Like how someone speaks to me is totally different than how they would speak to Commissioner Francisco, you know, what each one of us needs. And I commend Commissioner Osmer because he has that skill to adjust who he's talking to. He was very quiet how he gave his answers, but I am well aware that he's been very ill for the past couple weeks. So I actually overlooked that minor little inconvenience, but I liked his answers. I like that he was brief and to the point. I know his drive for doing the job very well. He is that person that would give it 110 and not stop at 90. So I have no problem appointing someone to that position that was elected by his peers to be a commissioner. And I take great offense at a lot of the things that were in social media, that it was rigged and it was set up. And I was like, okay, he was elected to be a commissioner, but you're saying that you don't think he could do the administrator job? I do have some issues with that. I think that's very small thinking and short-sighted. So I strongly stand behind my decision, and I went into it very fairly and open, and I feel good about it.
I got a question on to Amy. There was a survey you sent back to the commissioners, and I got that in front of me. And out of the 7 commissioners that would answer, there's only showing 5 that filled the survey out.
Yeah, that is correct. We had some commissioners did not fill out all of the responses. So we did not get 100% response to all the questions from all of the commissioners.
Kind of surprised by that as well.
Yeah.
One of them might have been mine. So I was doing mine in bad service. And so I actually tried to resend it 2 or 3 times. And I did actually speak with Commissioner Kozlowski about that because I wasn't sure mine went through. And so then I tried to get back into it again on Sunday and it wouldn't let me back in. So if one is mine, then I do apologize. I just tried to do it right after Standish and I was on M65 and it was not going very well.
So Amy, well, because it 6, yeah, so I see some you got 6 answers, some 5, 5, 5, 5.
May have been me.
So the majority of it looks like there was 5.
Guess the other ones didn't care.
Well, and I will say on that, one of the things that I read when I was reading through your summary, and I didn't know or have an expectation of what we were going to get. Actually, I thought it was going to be a little bit different, but one of the things that, at least from my perspective, was when I read the comments at the bottom of each candidate, and I'll be honest with you, these almost kind of paraphrase my comments on the survey. So I don't know. I think, like I said, I think we went through this process. I agree with Commissioner Konashevsky that we had that opportunity. We were in this almost the same situation as we are today financially. You know, we've kind of up and down a little bit, but in the end, we are in the same, almost same position that we were when we started this year out. So I believe that to drag this out or to, well, kick the can down the road to see what happens in 6 months, 8 months next year. I think we'll be in the same situation of needing a position. And then trying to figure out how we're gonna move forward there, so. So we have a motion and we have support. So if there's no other discussion, I think we need to do, I think, unless you have any other input that you'd like to comment on. No? Okay.
Ready?
Yep.
Commissioner Konashevsky?
Yes.
I'm sorry, what is, are we, Jesse, right? I'm just clarifying, this is to hire Jesse as the,
That was the motion, yes.
so that's a yes. Commissioner LaHaye?
No.
Commissioner Osmer? I'm sorry, you're excused. Commissioner Lalone?
Yes.
Commissioner Peterson?
No,
Commissioner Fournier?
Yes.
Commissioner Francisco?
No,
Commissioner Kozlowski?
Yes.
4 yes, 3 no, motion carried.
Congratulations.
That'd be a long way.
Yeah.
Well, I don't even know how, so obviously,
we haven't even started contract
negotiations.
I mean,
I'm kidding.
Okay.
Um,
No, but you get to smile. 110%, 110%, young man.
okay. That was, interesting. Moving on. Any other comments, Amy, before we? I just want to thank you for your assistance.
Thank you for your services.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. It was an honor.
Did your help on this should be easy for you now.
But you gotta remember, breathe. So I made it up, you're up now. I'm in a different situation than I was probably a month ago. Or whenever this was done. So I won't be as quiet.
Yeah.
Don't pull any punches.
Have I ever?
Are we gonna talk about negotiating a contract with Jesse at the next meeting, or is this something you guys want to discuss now?
What's that?
Do you want to discuss negotiating a contract with Jesse now, or do you
No,
want
not,
I think that would be a personnel thing, wouldn't it?
yeah.
to? Okay.
You can put that on the list for first.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Go ahead and start talking. Try and figure it out.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen of the board. My name is Major Anthony Oko. I am the base civil engineer for the Alpena CRPC, the Air National Guard installation co-located at Alpena County Regional Airport. I am presenting to the board for your review and vote. A proposal to move forward with lease amendment for the Air National Guard's physical footprint at Alpena County Regional Airport. The current lease was signed in 2012. It's a 50-year lease that's also governed by what's called an AJUA, an Airport Joint Use Agreement. That it's a 10-year financial document that was originally signed in 2015 and will be up for review and renewal in 2025. For those of you who don't know me, I have been at the Alpena CRTC for approximately 3 years. I am a born and raised Michigander. I grew up in Southeast Michigan, but I have family here in Alpena. So this is actually went to Alpena CRTC quite a few times through high school, through the Civil Air Patrol. I served active duty for a little over 10 years, deployed to Iraq, Afghanistan before transitioning off active duty to full-time Air National Guard position and coming back to the Alpena CRTC to serve at Space Civil Engineer there. In my position in the time there, working with Mr. Smigelski and the Alpena County Regional Airport, there have been a number of discussions of some inadequacies or some vulnerabilities associated with the way that our current lease and license are currently structured with the Alpena County Regional Airport. The intent here is to present to the board for your consideration a discussion of some of the challenges with the lease and license as currently structured, and what I like to call opportunities that we can pursue with your support to move forward to amend our current lease and to posture both the Air National Guard and our mission at the Alpena County Regional Airport, as well as the County Airport Authority to maintain and sustain the existing infrastructure at the airport, as well as to provide additional training opportunities that historically we have been able to do, but not in any sort of way that was properly codified and done in a way that would be, secured for posterity. So this is a brief overview of what we're talking or discussing. There's two challenges I mentioned: the joint use flying facilities, which is a way of saying, the airport's taxiways and ramps that constitute the infrastructure at the airport. And the second challenge is that we'd like to discuss with you is the austere training area that we have a requirement to perform as part of our training mission at the CRTC. Slide. So the Air National Guard's mission at the airport is to provide realistic training to all Department of Defense personnel, to include the Air National Guard first and foremost, but also all the other reserve components, to include the Army National Guard, counterparts at Camp Grayling, and Department of Defense entities at large. We're familiar with the the sounds of the aircraft and the influx of personnel that we have over the summer. That has been the mission of the CRTC for many, many decades. That is our formally assigned mission. One of the things that is part of our formally assigned mission is to create an environment, a training environment that simulates, austere contingency training areas as if we were to, deploy downrange to an underdeveloped area. Slide. I mentioned this earlier in the discussion. So we are on a leased and licensed instrument with the Alpena County for 50 years. It was renewed in 2012 and it's good through 2062. The intent is not to replace that lease instrument, it's simply to amend the instrument as it is depicted today to account for some of the what we're proposing. Okay. This is an overview of the Alpena County Regional Airport with the current Air National Guard leased land. So it's a little bit difficult to see, but you'll see the red boxes constitute the current lease boundaries. There's what I'd like to say are three primary areas: the main cantonment area, the main installation area, our primary aircraft parking ramp, which is at the center of your screen there. This is oriented such that north is to the left. That's Lake Winya there. Off the left side of the screen, M32 on the right side of your screen, running east-west on the south side of the airport. And there's also a separate lease parcel for a munitions storage area on the east side of the airport, which is the polygon to the east of the runway on the upper side of the page. Right. So this is the challenge with the leases as currently constructed. There's over 725,000 square feet of existing airfield pavements in the form mostly of taxiways that currently, as the lease and the AJUA are written, puts the responsibility for maintenance and repair on the County of Alpena. So this language is actually specifically from the AJUA. It says the county is responsible for maintenance of all the shared use flying facilities, being joint ceiling, crack repair, surface repairs, airfield markings. It's a significant amount of work. We do not own these pavements. The pavements are not owned by the Air National Guard. They're owned by the airport as the lease is written. But, and as Mr. Smigelski can attest, there's no FAA or general aviation requirement for any of these airfield pavements. They're structured specifically for the use of the Air National Guard. Why are they precluded from the current lease? I couldn't tell you, but what I can tell you is how to fix it. This is an overview of those shared use taxiways and shared use pavements. So we have the south and disarm pads on the far left and far right side of your screen. That's where military combat aircraft are parked. There's Taxiway Hotel, which is the long asphalt taxiway that runs from east to west or on the upper side of the page. There's Taxiway Bravo on the bottom of the page, which connects our north ramp and our main parking area, and Taxiway Alpha on the far left side of the screen, which connects the Taxiway Charlie, which is the primary taxiway, to both military parking ramps. Steve will tell you, you will not see a single FAA commercial aircraft or general aviation aircraft on any of these airfield pavements. You will, however, see a significant number of military aircraft using these pavements. The goal is to amend our current lease, as is depicted, to change these from shared use assets to exclusive use for the Air National Guard. When we do that, it increases my baseline authorization for funding brought from the Department of Defense to be able to maintain these. It gives me the authority to do cyclic maintenance on these airfield pavements. It allows me to program larger repair projects where I can bring in specific Department of Defense money to maintain, repair and invest in those airfield pavements. And it takes the responsibility of doing it off the county of Alpena and the airport manager. Next slide. This is an overview of the lease amendments that would be captured. So I mentioned taxiways Alpha, Bravo Hotel, the north and south arm disarm pad. These would change from shared use to exclusive use. There's a couple of other items that we would like to try and correct that I think would posture us for success for assisting at maintenance at the airport. These include a small parcel of land at gate 20, which is the gate at the southwest side of the airport, to allow us to bring commercial traffic in from that side. So anybody that's driven up and down N32 in the past couple of months has seen the amount of work that we have going on. That's an Air National Guard funded portion of the repairs to runway 119. There's a significant amount of commercial traffic. If we have the ability to set up an alternate gate there, we would facilitate commercial traffic. It would be to the benefit of that airport road as well as our main gate. We'd also like a small parcel of land that we could reinvest in what I like to lovingly refer to as the credit union sign on Airport Road and M32, the current Alpena County Regional Airport and Alpena CRTC joint sign. If we had a parcel there that was leased to the Air National Guard, then I could help fund, not help, do the funding for the design and construction of a new sign to provide a bit more aesthetically pleasing main entrance sign for the airport. There's aircraft arresting systems and an airfield infield area that we already maintain. That would be other areas that we would like to add into a proposed lease amendment. So if we move to the next slide, it'll show what these amended lease boundaries would look like, with the red being the existing and the green being the proposed. So you see that basically we're just extending the line from north to south to capture taxiway Bravo, taxiway Alpha, separate leased areas for the north and south arm disarm pads, taxiway hotel, and then that infield area. So this is the first proposal. If we move ahead, there's a second challenge and opportunity that we would like to discuss, referencing that paragraph.
Before you move on though, so your course of action one is sustain red, add green.
That is correct, sir.
Okay, all right.
So the red would be essentially replaced by the green. It would be, you know, if we move forward with this, we would get an actual surveyed boundary assessment.
You would retain the red areas
That is correct.
and then add to it the green boundaries. Is what
That's
I'm saying.
correct.
Okay, track it. Thank you.
I do have a question on that. So that green area that goes from munitions down out to the 32 and down to the sign.
That is an easement. That would be an easement for us to extend fiber around so that we would have Air Force network fiber available at the alternate gate.
Okay.
Just a utility corridor along the perimeter of the road.
I just was wondering if you're gonna start cutting the grass out there too.
See about that. There's a lot of grass to get out there. The second challenge is associated with the paragraph that I had at the beginning of the presentation, which is the CRTC training requirement to provide an austere training area. So, you know, pulling language out of our document that tells us what our mission is. It says we have a responsibility to provide a training environment that approximates a deployed combat-oriented operating location. So currently, if you look at the main cantonment area of the current lease boundaries, you know, we do have green spaces. We do have quite a bit of green space, but none of it is contiguous in such a way that it meets the intent of providing a space to get after some of those training objectives. So when you think of, if I were to go to a deployed location in, say, the Indo-Pacific or Southwest Asia or Eastern Europe, and that area was less developed, my ability to go to that location, set up a new airbase, a new operating location, that's one of our primary missions, not just in the Air Force, but in the Department of Defense. We don't really have a good area of doing that. And there's other types of contingency types of training that we need to do, say a downed pilot, right? And personal recovery of said downed pilot, land navigation, what they call GCCC, or our ability to perform, casualty care in a combat environment. We don't really have a good training area of doing this. There is an area to the east of the installation on county-owned land that historically has been used on more of an informal agreement basis. The intent is to try and capture that in some of the additional area that is currently owned by the county of Alpena to meet some of those training requirements. But we want to do it in such a way that it's formal, it's above, it's beyond reproach, and it is codified for posterity. So this is me putting my Michigan hat on, right? So because funds are always tight, but when, say, the Department of Defense or the Air National Guard is looking at installations, for example, we have a sister installation in Wisconsin, right? So when they're evaluating the capabilities of different installations, maybe they're deciding who they want to keep, who they want to give money to, or mission, right? Having something on a formal lease as opposed to an informal agreement, something that's actually, part of our leased boundary is credible, it's codifiable, it's tangible. That's what gets you credit. Informal agreements, knowing that if I asked, one would let me do, does not lend the same type of credence as something of this nature. So if we move to the next slide. These are just identifying some of the training areas that we have right now. We have a urban training area, like a fake village, a runway repair area, and a fire training complex. That's kind of the extent of our, non-airfield related training. And it's insufficient to meet a lot of the requirements that I identified just previously. If we move to the next slide. This is what we're discussing. This is a map of the County of Alpena owned land, right? So really what we're looking at is this, some of this land to the east of the installation that is currently undeveloped. If you look to the very north and east of the installation, there's a small cleared area. That is the area that historically we have used in the past to meet some of these training objectives, but on an informal basis. We move to the next slide. These are some of the types of training activities that we propose to do in said area. Dismounted patrols, base defense, medical field care, base contingency base setup. So a lot of the tents, establishing a small contingency footprint, all low impact training, no permanent infrastructure, no development. If we move to the next slide, this is why we think that area is ideal. So this is pulled out of the airport's master plan that shows some of the limitations associated with the area as it is. So yes, there is a small parcel of land off the M32 corridor that is part of the current boundaries that is still developable. And that's not part of the lease amendment that we're proposing. But as you move north of that from right to left, you run into the easements associated with our munitions storage area. Then you have a wetlands area with creek and lower elevations that really is not a developable area. And then as you move north of that, you have the runway 725 clear zone, which is also not developable because it's in the approach and departure zone of the cross-run one runway. And then to the farthest north, you have generally just inaccessible land as a amalgamation of the other factors that we just discussed, right? So if you move to the next slide, the objective is, or the intent is to lease land not along the M32 corridor, but starting from where we have the easements surrounding the munition storage area to the north of the installation, to provide this as a low impact, austere training area where you could meet a lot of the training objectives that we are required and supposed to have available to us as a Air National Guard Combat Readiness Training Center to allow us to meet a lot of the training objectives, now more than ever, right, in a environment of great power competition. This is something that the CRTC needs. It is generally non-developable. It is owned by the county of Alpena and part of the airport lease property. And if we were to have this capability, would be able to meet a lot of the training objectives that we need to accomplish. And it would make good use of otherwise non-developable land. Next slide. If we're to move forward with the lease amendment, this is what the process would look like. We've previously discussed at the County of Alpena's Facility Commission. We have briefed this to the Adjutant General of the Michigan National Guard and received his concurrence. We've also briefed this to the U.S. Property and Fiscal Office and received their concurrence and the National Guard Bureau. They are all in concurrence with moving ahead. If we receive the vote of approval from the Board of Commissioners, then we will move forward with requesting a memorandum of concurrence from the landowner and start a lease amendment process. That's me and my team. If there's any questions or word.
Yes, questions, if I may, a couple of questions? Yeah. So you mentioned the Alpena CRTC, obviously, then you mentioned Volk Field, you mentioned Wisconsin, I assume that's Volk Field, it's another CRTC.
That's correct, sir.
So there's a total of 4, right?
That's correct,
Where
sir.
are the other 2? One's in Mississippi,
Gulfport, Mississippi and Savannah.
Savannah, Georgia. So we have 2 up in the northern part of the United States, northeastern part of the Midwest, I guess, northern part of the Midwest. 1 in the south and then 1 in the southeast. So in my previous career, I recall a number of times when they were talking about reducing CRTCs from 4 to 3. I assume those discussions still go on.
Did you, sir?
Okay, and with, you look at geographic dispersion, Michigan and Wisconsin pretty tight together and, so, and then the other 2 are in the southeast and in the central part of the South. So I would assume that if we approve this change of lease, it makes you more competitive, quite frankly, as compared to Volk Field, because you're not really in competition with Savannah and with Gulfport. Is that a correct
That
statement?
is correct, sir.
Okay, all right.
That is correct. So what I'm proposing, I always have 2 hats on,
Okay.
in full disclosure. So one is as a member of the United States Air Force and a member of the Air National Guard and the base civil engineer for a DoD installation. The other hat is as a Michigander. So with this lease amendment, I'm wearing both hats. Because to move forward with this lease amendment is to posture us to be a better installation and provide a better training environment to Air National Guard members and Department of Defense members at large to be able to train and meet the requirements to be, the greatest military in the world. And get those training requirements here in Northern Michigan. The other hat is that Northern Michigan hat, that Michigander hat. And I have responsibility, I think, to ensure that this installation is the best it can be to continue the investment and the resources that we're able to bring in to the Northeast Michigan community. Sure. So, Mr. Smigelski will tell you, we were able to bring in more than $40 million for the runway renovations that have been ongoing on runway 119 over the past 2 years. We're constructing a $30 million hangar on the flight line right now. And I have been able to make good headway with bringing in additional other investments to the Alpena CRTC. This is an extension of that.
Okay. So let me ask, I guess, the next question to Steve Smigelski. Sit down. You don't have to stand up. So as the airport manager, what do you see? Is there a negative impact to airport operations from the perspective of the airport manager? Should we agree to this additional properties in the agreement, the lease agreement?
It's all upside for both of us. It expands their training areas, takes more abundant property to the east and to the north of the airport that can't be developed because of the blast zone mitigation, the wetlands, and then we have the approach departure for runway 725. We won't be able to develop that. So by them being able to codify it, put it into the big book, as it were, as a training area, that helps them. The taxiway maintenance, that's going to help the county because now he's going to be able to program monies that are going to help us maintain pavements that are already existing, but we were having to take out a height to keep up to standards. So there's no downside as far as operations, and there's all upside as far as capabilities and cost reductions.
Okay, thanks. I don't have any other questions. No, Jared, thank you.
Just a couple minor things here, maybe minor. And I don't know if I mentioned this, whether it was in the facilities, but we talked about the access for the Canfields, it go right through there and how that could possibly impact them because they have a right of way easement or whatever.
The existing easement would stay. So, I mean, and honestly, it would be. We, you know, any of the responsibilities for maintenance of the easement, things of that nature, we could take that on.
And I think we've talked, maybe you and I have talked about that, because I know going way back when Myron McIntyre was there, he used to go out and maintain that easement, and even though it wasn't something that we were required to do because it was an easement. I mean, it's county property, but us maintaining it didn't really have a benefit. I guess it did, because then it wasn't there a point, there may have been a point, I don't know if you ever remember this, that where he used to come through the front gate and then have to cut through the back to go to get to his property. So the other thing was just a note. So you mentioned the sign. I know, I remember, I think it seems like the last time the sign probably worked effectively or even worked, period, was probably 2017, because I remember when I was still there, I was the one responsible for maintaining it. So you're saying that you could then put in for a whole new sign, and then the government, the base would pay for that project?
That's correct, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, so, you know, part of when it comes to federal funds assigned to the Air National Guard, one of the requirements is that we have a real property interest, that we have, that any improvements that we make are on leased properties. So precluding the austere area, which we want to keep as austere, right? So the austere area, the austere training area, no developments, no new infrastructure, no improvements, maintain the existing easements. The other challenges, right? The maintenance of the existing infrastructure. The primary driver for us doing this is us to be able to marshal federal funds from the Department of Defense to maintain that infrastructure. And the only way that we can do it outside of doing grants, like how we're doing runway 119, is to have the real property interest. Otherwise, we have to go through a grant process, which is doable, but quite cumbersome and not conducive to cyclic maintenance. And this goes for the main entrance sign as well.
And again, I don't want to give away any secrets here or whatever, but I know there was talk about a plane. Is that still part of that?
That is part of the discussion.
So that would be potentially on that leased property.
That is correct. But obviously, something like this, you know, with it being a joint effort, we would go through a design review process and allow for, comments and probably present a tier for you and moving forward.
Okay. Any other questions?
I say yes to the plane. That's
I just have a comment. I spent an afternoon out there with Major Hilco. Walked me around all the affected areas, and I agree with Steve. Really, it seems like only positive impact. During my visit there are a lot of roadways and additional sections of runways that need a lot of attention as far as pavement resurfacing and whatnot. And these things come at great costs. And right now they sit on county property with only a county interest. It just is an additional piece of the potential benefits, honestly. I think it would be, good for all parties involved, and I would actually make a motion to approve the moving forward with the lease agreement.
I'll support.
So we have a motion by Commissioner Konashevsky and support by Commissioner Lalonde. Any other discussion?
My only point is, other than a new sign and a cool plane as a static display, I think most importantly is the fact that there are always looking at base reductions. And this will make CRTC Alpena much more competitive, because at some point in time, I think barring any legislative or congressional actions or whatever, one of those two could be taken off of the base availability as a DoD installation, and that would have a significant negative impact to Alpena County. So I think our concurrence here should be certainly supported.
And again, knowing the CRTCs as well as I do for being in the military, I mean, obviously, whenever someone talks about that, everyone would make the same comment. The best one, the easiest one is Savannah. Because when you look at the overall space, if you've ever been there, I mean, it's like extremely small, and they're already part of another base anyway. So, but the other point that I wanted to make a comment on was the fact that, Major Hilco, through his hard work and efforts, got a new runway for us, for the county, for us, basically. And I know for a fact that, we would not be able to, we would have never been able to fund what they did out there. I know when I was there, there was the money that I had seen was over $40 million just for that, and we're continuing to spend more money there, so, yeah, we would have never been able to do what he's done, so we appreciate that as a county. So we have a motion and support. Any other discussion? I don't know, does this one involve money?
That's roll call.
Okay, roll call.
Commissioner LaHaye,
Yeah.
Commissioner Otzmer,
Yes.
Commissioner Lalone,
Yes.
Commissioner Peterson,
Yes.
Commissioner Fournier,
Yes.
Commissioner Francisco,
Yes.
Commissioner Konashevsky,
Yes.
Commissioner Kozlowski.
Yes.
Thank you, Major.
Thank you.
Thanks, Major Hilco.
Thank you for your service, especially the boots on the ground. Thank you so much.
Thank you all for your time.
Next up, we have Deborah Greenacre, Library Director, and Jessica Luther, Assistant Director. Jessica, you don't want to join in?
I talk too much of the day. Michelle Cornish here, representing the Board of Trustees. I'm just here to let you know that Deborah brought back the feedback from the commissioners. At the last board meeting, we decided to reduce from the increase just to the existing renewal. Thank you. I just wondered if you had any questions.
I think that was, and again, I can only speak for myself, but I think that was one of the discussions, major, I guess, if you will, sticking points that that was discussed when it was originally proposed. Glad you guys came in person. I like in person, and especially when I know you're just down the street. But it's, I like that you came in. I don't have any other questions regarding this millage. I know that we discussed it, I think it was the finance, was it just 2 weeks ago? So does anybody else have any comments, discussion? Well, actually,
I'll make a motion. We approve the language.
I'll support.
so we have a motion by Commissioner Peterson, support by Commissioner Fournier. We'll just drag this out for a second. I don't know where this went. I'm trying to think of a question.
I did actually have a question. Oh, go ahead.
I just have a question. In the packet presentation, looks like there's two millages. Are they the same, or which one are we approving here? They're the same. Are they the same? Okay.
Yeah, because Blue's in their packet and what they.
Okay, I'm just wanted to clarify that they are both the same.
You're good done, Carrie?
Yeah.
So my question is, whereas the library board desires to request voters approve a millage of 0.7462 mil, which is a renewal of the millage that expired in 2023, subject to applicable Headley rollbacks for a period of 10 years, beginning with the 2024 levy. With the subject to applicable Headley rollbacks, how does that work? So like if the county did a Headley rollback or roll up, then yours would roll up? Like, I guess I want clarification on that.
We're not asking for that.
No, that impacts everything.
Okay,
So,
okay, was a question I had.
yeah, so that's not something that it's not part of their millage request. So, did you have any questions, Travis, that you, no, I didn't want to miss out on that.
Thank you for asking, but no.
Okay, so we have a motion in support, if there are no other comments, discussion.
I'm sorry, I do have a question. I didn't realize there was a motion made. I was in the restroom.
Oh,
What's the motion?
to approve the recommendation for the ballot language for the library millage to adopt resolution 2410.
For a renewal only.
Thank you.
Yeah, we tried to drag it out too.
Sorry.
Okay, I guess.
Commissioner Osmer,
Yes.
Commissioner Lalone,
Yes.
Commissioner Peterson,
Yes.
Commissioner Fournier,
Yes.
Commissioner Francisco,
Yes.
Commissioner Konashevsky,
Yes.
Commissioner LaHaye,
Yes.
Commissioner Kozlowski.
Yes. Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Eric.
Good afternoon.
Our sheriff was honored last night. He received an award last night.
So inmate medical. Exciting topic anyways, we're running year to year on our extensions off our contract. The latest extension expired the end of March. Mid-April, we got a proposal from ACH, who is our current vendor. With three options. First thing I did is I actually went out to other vendors to see if they're interested. And I gotta tell you, Advanced Correctional Health is the only one that's interested in serving us. So we don't have a whole lot of options.
Sounds like we don't have any options.
Well, Advanced Health did give us three options. Those three options were to get more nursing hours. But long story short, those financially aren't even feasible. So the request that I'm making is that we stay with the original contract. It's gonna increase $24,000 this year, approximately $24,000. So it's gonna go up from 186 to 209,600. So like I said, roughly $2,400 or $24,000. The good thing is we budgeted 250,000 this year, so it's not gonna be any more of a hit out of our general fund. I'm just looking for approval, stay with that. And to sign the contract, approval to sign the contract.
It's not like we have much of a choice, right?
Chairman, I'll make that motion.
So we have a motion by Commissioner Osmer,
I'll support.
support by Commissioner Fournier. Any discussion? Not roll call, please.
Commissioner LaLonde,
Yes.
Commissioner Peterson,
Yes.
Commissioner Fournier,
Yes.
Commissioner Francisco,
Yes.
Commissioner Konashevsky, Commissioner LaHaye,
Yes.
Commissioner Osmer,
Yes.
Commissioner Kozlowski.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Commissioner Konashevsky.
Okay, sorry, I was making some notes here. So we had some discussion last week about a request from the Fair Board to allow a permit for a fireworks show at the end. And Courtney's here today if you would like to speak, if you have anything you want to mention in regards to that, that'd be great.
She's got a speech prepared.
I don't. I just had some notes here. I do appreciate your time, considering this show. I think it's gonna be great for the community. It is a free event. Yes, it is going on at the fairgrounds, but it is something that can be, viewed and it's a family-oriented event to the whole community, saying thank you for your support for 150 years. There were a few concerns from the community, from the previous discussion last week. We just wanted to curb some of those questions and concerns, one, we have the livestock, so the fireworks show is gonna be at the end of fair. We are offering an early haul out, option for anyone who thinks that their animals would be negatively affected. We also wanted to reiterate that these products that are being used in the firework display are biodegradable. So I know there was concern with the wildlife sanctuary, so we're more than willing to work with that. So yeah, if there's any questions, feel free to ask. And I do believe that there's a map provided of where this would be taking place.
Courtney, aren't most of the animals that go to sale, they're already gone, aren't they?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I thought, that I think a lot of people didn't understand. They're already headed to butcher. They're long gone, yeah. And I know with my daughter's horse, as you know, Taylor Alexander.
Butcher horses?
Yes, no. Her horse was gone the day before. She already had her horse home and secured and her stall cleaned and everything like that, so that's.
I think
wasn't an issue.
you mentioned in the, wherever I saw it, that you're gonna have an earlier release for that with the animals.
Yes, so the show is scheduled for 10 PM, obviously with board approval. We typically allow animals to start pulling out at 10 PM, but we're allowing people to haul out at 8 o'clock if they feel like their animals would be affected by this.
And many of the horses that people are concerned about actually haul in the day of show. So not all of the horses that are involved in the fair stay all week. So
I have
a lot of people don't realize that.
You're talking about animals. We did receive an email today. The animal control. But the dogs, cats, whatever they have, they're by themselves at that hour of night. There's nobody in there with them. I have a dog. He hates the fireworks. And I either have to take him and get him out of there. So I know they're gonna have trouble with the dogs. So do you have plans for them?
At this time, we're more than willing to work with Michelle to make sure that we can do everything we can to help alleviate that. Another thing to consider is we have been working with our firework producer throughout this whole process. And we're gonna be using smaller mortars. So it's gonna be very similar to a thunderstorm rather than what you would see during the 4th of July.
Right, but that's what upsets animals, thunderstorms by themselves. No one around them.
So I would
Kinda
make a
second
recommendation
guess.
that you take care of all the ones that you
Yeah.
post.
Right, I love animals.
I have personally, am Andy Barca, Community Risk Reduction Captain, City of Alpena, handled the fireworks for the last 5 years at the city. So when this was brought forward back in December, myself and Chief Edmonds went over and checked out the launch site. Security looked fine, no problems there. We've talked to Dwayne, they have all the paperwork in place. I also did talk to the Fair Board, Mike Arthur, about the animals, which they now have something in place. I've also talked to Deputy Michelle Reed about her animals,
Okay.
and she was not concerned one bit where they're at.
Okay.
Said they will be fine, they'll be secured, not a worry. So, and we will have, we're talking about 6-inch shells and 5-inch shells, so smaller than the normal shells. So we will still have for 6-inch shell, 420 feet perimeter, and then we'll also have 5-inch shells, we'll have 350 feet, so a little less, but. And we're also gonna have a fire response, ambulance response, we'll have a boat in the water in case, something goes astray and any of the marshes were to catch on fire. I also have contacted the DNR to possibly have a boat in the water also, keep any kayakers away or anybody. So I think this is a great event for Alpena County and should be done very safely.
If I may, I just wanted to note that the permit does have to be signed by the city, so that will have to come to our May 6th council meeting. We were just waiting to see if it was approved by the county.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. You know, it would be great, Courtney. If there's any animals in there that could be adopted, let's have like a little adoptable event, like 2 weeks before the fair, right? Why not? As long as they're not involved in a case or a trial or something like that, yeah.
Sounds like you have 2 people that are willing to take.
I'll come out and trot around some animals and get them adopted. I got this.
All right, so we get the request for the fireworks show. Would anyone like to make a?
I'll make that motion.
So there's a motion by Commissioner Malone, support by Commissioner Peterson. Any further discussion on the firework show?
I will just add comment. Thanks to Courtney for putting all this together as early as back in December. And, thanks to the community, Andy and Chief Edmonds for going out and making the effort and making sure that it's all made sense and was safe. It's nice to see all of the due diligence done here before you brought it to us, and it helps expedite things. Thank you.
And I think too, it helps, Andy, thanks for bringing that too, with your information, because not knowing that and knowing that you've already talked to Michelle is good information, so. So any other discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passed.
Ms. Prince?
Travis, it looks like you got the other one for the agreement.
Yes, there's been some amendments made to the Fair Board agreement. It's all in here for everyone to have viewed. I don't see any issues with what they're asking moving forward. I don't know, Jennifer, everything looks okay to you as well.
any feedback from Patrick, the airport or the correction, the fairgrounds manager at all? That you know of?
No,
Yeah, I think it's pretty simple change. I'd make the motion that we go ahead and adopt the new agreement.
We have a motion to adopt the new agreement.
And I'll second.
And we have support for that. Was this, because I read on the thing, was this the thing I'm looking at, maybe I'm looking at the wrong one. 5 years to 10 years? Is that,
So the original agreement we signed in 2023 was a 10-year agreement. The original amendment that I was sent on a 5-year agreement, and we would like to stay with the 10-year agreement.
so this, the amount of years needs to go to 10?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So I guess are we,
Is it listed as 10 in here?
the thing that I'm looking at looks like it says 5.
It's a January 33.
Well, down under 2, consideration for this. Aforementioned 100 or what am I, by 5 years from the start date. I'm not sure why that's.
Yeah, it says 2023. It says 10 years on that. For sure.
Did email me after the facilities meeting with the corrected contract of 10 years.
Okay, so as long as everyone knows it's 10 years. Okay, so we had a motion. Any other discussions?
80.
If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, motion passed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next, Commissioner Peterson.
yeah, we have a interlocal agreement with County Alpena, County of Alcona, County of Osco, County of Montmorency, and the County of Oscoda for material management plan. Diane, do you want to make a little presentation on this?
I came because Elisa couldn't.
Okay.
I can tell you, I don't know how far back you guys understand where this is at. This is the materials management plans that are requiring one into effect in January, sometime, early January. So in order to get through the first phase of this, you had to do decide on whether you're going to go multi-county, states providing $70,000 plus a 50 cents per capita each year for the planning phase, and this will go on for a while. And so since that time, you guys, you've met with the counties of Alcona, Iasco, Montmorency, Oscoda to actually go into this on a regional basis. So you get, in addition to that 70, you get another 10,000 each year. So this interlocal agreement spells out the conditions or the processes for things like your salaries planning committee, how you're going to determine the regional salaries planning committee. Takes a look at the, first of all, the Alpena County being the DPA, designated planning agency. All the counties have agreed to do that. That was a big thing. Also outlines the, let's see here. Interlocal agreement, the funding from each of the counties. So each of the counties will send their first year 70,000 to Alpena County because you are also the county approval agency. And then you will be paying for the planning aspects of the multi-year county plan with everyone's money. Won't we kind of pay the per capita money into the fund? And then that also sets up this agreement of committee and what we agree to pay, which is from each county to just make sure this process. And there's a timeline, and this is why it's rushed, and I know we are sorry for doing that. We said to pushing this through. However, this went through, I think, your attorney review.
Yep.
And it's also went through RS's. Actually, this all has to be in state by July.
July 6, yeah.
And this is.
So I don't know if the attorney had any changes to it.
No, I don't. Russ didn't change anything on it.
There's a couple notes on the printed copy that I gave you, but nothing
Major.
major.
This does need to go forward now to each of the other counties, once the process was to have a county take a look at this and then approve this first, so we can go out to all the other counties, have this in to the state.
And it's true that if the county or counties don't adopt this plan, that Eagle or the state of Michigan will do it for us. Is that correct? Okay.
Yeah, I think it's, we've had a plan in place for 20-something years. It's never been updated. It's a solid waste plan that is now materials management. So it's going from throwing everything into the hole in the ground to recycling. So the state's new goals and their new directives is going to be, you've got to recycle. And you guys are already doing that. The other counties are have always been for many, many years, part of the regional plan to move forward into Alpena County. So that's already in motion. So essentially, yeah, you guys have always done your solid waste planning and now it's materials management planning, and you'll be working with the other counties as you have in the past.
Anything, and I know before the meeting, I mentioned this to you. So at this point, with Presqu'île sending me the letter, is that, you said that's just more probably of a formality? At this point, could they even be part of our plan?
Yeah, they could be if you guys wanted to them, without a doubt. Part of the plan is the documentation will be voted by the adjacent counties. And so that's probably what you're saying, but I know that they have been looking, there's an advantage to going with multi-counties. Get more money for one. So I don't know where they're at. We've had some conversations with them and they're either, they were gonna maybe go alone because they've got their own program going. However, they can still cite you part of their county coming over here for your recycling center too.
Okay.
But not sure what we're gonna do. I don't know if they've decided it. They need to hurry.
Okay.
It's a state will that.
Any questions from anybody regarding the MMP?
Make a motion to approve the agreement.
I'll support.
So we have a motion by Commissioner Peterson, support by Commissioner Lalonde. Any further discussion? Okay, do we need a?
Yeah, probably should.
Okay,
Yeah, have a roll call.
roll call, please.
Commissioner Peterson,
Yes.
Commissioner Fournier,
Yes.
Commissioner Francisco,
Yes.
Commissioner Konashevsky,
Yes.
Commissioner LaHaye,
Yeah.
Commissioner Osmer,
Yes.
Commissioner Lalonde,
Yes.
Commissioner Kozlowski.
Yes. Okay, moving on to reports on special ad hoc committees. I know I've said this before, I don't want to drag this out. So when it's your particular turn, I would recommend if you have one or two things to discuss. If not, it's fine to not have to talk about something. So with that being said, Travis, you get to go first.
We pretty much covered a lot of the highlights from our facilities meeting today with the planning committee. Good.
Okay, Robin?
You know.
Be as brief as he is.
Yeah.
I try so hard. Okay, so there actually isn't a whole lot to discuss. We did talk about securing a new ambulance purchase in 2024 with Stryker Power Load with Fire Chief Rob Edmonds. We looked at a couple different things with that, so that's coming up. And I mean, that was our biggest thing. That was our highlight.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Francisco.
So the discussion at the last animal control ad hoc meeting was contained in today's consent calendar, but essentially it's that we will continue to staff the Alpena County Animal Control Shelter using county employees, and that the sheriff was going to submit his budgeted request to fill with a shelter manager. As we move forward, he's been TDY for the last week or two, so he is working on that to get that position filled. And again, the command and control supervisory responsibility will remain under the Alpena County Sheriff. In addition, we met as recent as yesterday, in fact, with the city of Alpena and the shelter managers of both Huron and the Huron Humane Society and the Second Chance. Pretty good meeting, a little over an hour. And the next action, we're going to continue to meet one. Number two is there's going to be a group with the law enforcement community, if you will, to review the ordinances of the city and the county and to see if there's some consolidation and updating that can be done to make it more conducive for both the city and the county and the other municipalities within the county. And also Deputy Reed is asked to be able to form a hoarding task force. A recent hoarding situation cited the need to have this multidisciplinary task force, and she's going to be continuing to form that organization. Subject to questions, that's all I've got.
Questions? Great, thank you. Commissioner Head.
Planning Commission, we're replacing 2 board members that left, Taylor Heron and Jeff Kowalski. That'll be done at the next meeting. We're not gonna have a meeting this month because there's not much.
Wasn't that on the agenda?
What was it?
Planning Commission?
Yeah.
Yeah, so those 2 individuals are on, we're gonna approve that later on.
And the Veterans Affairs Board, we didn't meet next month because the first meeting, we didn't have a quorum, so there was a report in the packet and all the different items on the from the Veterans Board that came up someplace. I don't know, it was in on my packet, so
Okay.
other than that, there's nothing going on there.
All right, thank you. Going right over to Robin. No, go ahead, Jessica. Trying to save time.
Nothing to report from Thunder Bay Marine Sanctuary. We haven't had a meeting yet. I wasn't able to make because I was sick. As far as Hunt goes, they're looking at purchasing some new vehicles. They feel like the current ones look too much like police cars. Losing one of our administrators. They're gonna look to replace that person who's leaving in September. And the number of complaints have declined this past quarter.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from anybody? Commissioner Long.
Oh, boy.
I know, this is the one. that I should have skipped
Okay,
over.
so, right. Rats. Okay, so the Fair Board meeting, I wasn't able to make it this last time, unfortunately. So I was sorry about that, but I can imagine that it was full of all kinds of brilliant ideas. The meeting before it was all the different things that they're working on and bringing into the fair. And I mean, amazing things that they're thinking about doing throughout the year. So stay tuned and keep your eye on them. They got some neat stuff coming up. NEMSCA, there really wasn't anything to talk about. Everything's in order. They have nothing going on. Parks and Rec. Obviously, we had the issue with the house. So Mr. Osborne has been amazing and putting in lots of extra time with that. So the Parks Commission did purchase a camper. That camper Patrick worked really hard to get it out of storage. It was in storage. He got it out within a day and a half and it was buried all the way to the back. He also then hauled it out to the Fourniers. They were able to get everything out of there and then hauled it out to Sunken Lake so that we could get them out of the 19-foot tiny little box camper that they were trying to live in while we addressed the issues with the home. And then the camper that they were living in was the manager of Long Lake Park, Sarah Jor. It was hers. So now her father went out Sunday, returned the camper back to her. So all is well. And Thunder Bay Transportation, the van that was damaged in the accident, that's gonna take a year to replace. The need was shared online. Amazingly, 2 vans were donated from Kalamazoo. They both have about 60,000 miles on them. Ironically, they have the red and white stripes. So those are going to be put in use until they're able to replace the van that was involved in that horrible accident. I'm done. That was about 3 minutes. I was shorter than Commissioner Francisco. I was watching.
I'm 6'2", of course you're shorter. Oh, you at the time of your briefing, I'm sorry.
Commissioner Peterson.
District Court management will meet in August. So this will be once a year. MOA moving along, everything is going good. Jackson is doing well. Only other thing I had was property sale on the airport is moving along. We're going to the zoning commission 1st of May and get that approved and go from there. Target, we don't meet till May.
Commissioner Fournier.
There's never really not a lot on district health for 3 of the main care people on the board were not there. And we did discuss a couple of things, so Bill will give you an update on that.
They're gonna hire 2 new tech people there. for the health department because they only had one and they were worried about if he's gone and they need service, and they have nobody to take care of it. And they're worrying about, cyber attacks and everything else. So they're being very cautious about their tech people. So that's why they're gonna beef up the department there. Other than that, the budget is good. And everything is going well there. The office in Atlanta is new. It's very nice. So that's the first time I was there. So that it looks pretty good. And they're gonna get a generator. They're gonna try and buy a generator. They're gonna have a report on that next month.
Okay,
Because they need cold storage for the medicine and stuff.
all right, thank you. Commissioner Francisco.
So with regard to NMRE, the next meeting is 6 May, so we haven't had, I've already reported on the last meeting. As far as the opioid partners update, we met on 18 April. They're very close to submitting 2 or 3 RFPs, as I said in the email that I sent to you, Chair. They want to present those in May, and I'm going to, once I get all the details, I'd like to have them come in and do a presentation, short one, to talk about what they do and what they want to do with the opioid settlement funds. So we can see that in May, next month.
Commissioner Konashevsky.
My 3 committees here were discussed at the last full board. They're at the beginning of the month, so I don't have anything.
Okay, thanks. For me, Dare basketball game Friday. I went to my first meeting with the Northeast Michigan Consortium yesterday in Onaway. There's a lot to that. There's a lot of funding that they supply in through Michigan Works, which is pretty incredible. The Recycling Northeast Michigan Materials Management Association, just waiting on the updates from the city or from Rachel.
As far as,
The-
the land lease, yes.
Yep. And United Way, nothing there. Okay. So. Business. One of the things that I just made a note of while we were talking and I hope I don't get killed here. I forgot to add, because we discussed it at the budget meeting with the tax limitation advisory committee. So as a board, and I'm gonna ask that you cut me some slack here to add this, because I forgot to add it at the beginning. A board appointment for the tax advisory committee. And so the individual that I would like to appoint or nominate, make a selection, and would be Kevin Osborne. Deer in the headlight. I did talk to you though, right? So as a board for this, those positions that we need to fill, I need to get that one individual, that position filled. So I would like to make a recommendation that we appoint Kevin Osborne to that tax advisory station.
So moved.
Or I'm already used to bitch for picking stuff up.
Yeah, I know. Well, I forgot to write it down at the beginning, so we went from that meeting to this meeting, so, okay.
Have a motion and support.
Yep, so we have a motion, support,
Support. Brenda, sorry. Thank you.
any questions, comments on that? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thanks, Kevin.
Thanks, Kevin.
Thanks, Kevin.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks for being volunteered.
Okay, so moving into the next item, which is approve a resolution of a tribute to the Register of Deeds. Catherine Murphy, you're hiding way back there. So with that, let me just go find.
John, there's not a resolution yet. We
Oh, just-
need the approval from the
Okay.
board,
Well, I'll make a
put a
recommendation.
number, then we bring it next month. I'll second.
So we have a motion and second. Any questions, discussion? If not, All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passed. Okay, so the next item is a discussion of the resolution of tribute to law enforcement, which is attached.
Make the motion that we approve the.
Okay, so we have a motion
Right.
and support. I'm
Gotta
just
read
trying to
it.
find it. You want to read it?
A resolution to declare 18th or May 12th to the 18th of 2024 as Police Week in Alpena, Michigan. Whereas in 1962, President John F. Kennedy proclaimed the 15th as National Peace Officers Memorial Day, and the calendar week in which May 15th falls as a National Police Week. Established by a joint resolution of Congress of 1962, National Police Week, a special recognition to those law enforcement officers who have lost their lives in the line of duty for safety and protection of others. And whereas they are more than 700,000 law enforcement officers serving in communities across the United States, including the approximately 1,700 full-time uniform officers in Michigan. And whereas matters of law enforcement deserve the appreciation and respect the people of Alpena, Michigan for the merit, dignity, bravery, and reliability they exhibit each and every day. We must also honor the sacrifices made by families of police officers, as each day they must face constant fear as their loved ones works to protect us. And whereas in 1923, along with 125 enforcement officers were killed and many, many more assaulted in a line of duty across the county. The names of those dedicated public servants who made the ultimate sacrifice are engraved on the walls of the National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial in Washington, D.C. Whereas Alpena and fallen officers will be forgotten, nor will they service to their respective communities. By choosing to commit themselves to law enforcement, these brave individuals answer the call for service and willingly put their lives in jeopardy. We commend them for recognizing service as a noble career in protecting the people's safety, and also all of those who are serving within insignia to date. Whereas Alpena, Michigan, and all Michigan citizens have turned to members of law enforcement for assistance, support in times of distress. Whether they are coping with a personal crisis, bearing the straits of pandemic, or struggling through civil disorder or national disaster. Our communities rely on these courageous individuals when it's difficult to stand on our own. And we are indebted to the unwavering public service of our local and state police. We are indeed fortunate and grateful for the contributions of law enforcement officers to the people of this state. Now, therefore, be resolved that the members of this Alpena commissioners declare May 12th through the 18th, 2024 as Police Week in the Alpena, Michigan. We publicly salute the service of law enforcement officers in our community, as well as those of our state, nation, and honor police who place their lives in the line of duty for the safety and security of our communities.
Thank you. So we had a motion support. Any questions If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, motion passed. Next item is commission appointments. Okay. So we had two individuals that we had that were previously on the planning commission that had either, I think, did they both turn in the letters of resignation or?
One of them,
One of them wasn't-
Resigned, but
one
didn't
of them
turn in.
wasn't Filled that,
oh, these are, one turned in a resignation and the other one was a verbal resignation.
okay, they both three.
Yes.
So we're filling these individuals with one of the individuals, so we'll go, I'm looking for a motion for the first one, Rebecca DePayne. Be appointed to that planning commission in the tourism and recreation position.
I'll make that motion.
A motion by Commissioner Lalone
I'll support.
and support by Commissioner Fournier. Any discussion with that? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. Okay, the next individual is, we're looking to recommend the appointment of Holly Fitzpatrick to the Planning Commission, the Environment and Natural Resources position, beginning immediately ending in 2026. So we have a motion by Commissioner LaHaye,
Second.
support by Commissioner Osmer. Any further discussion or any other discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Now we're at public comment. Anyone with public comment?
Hello, Kevin Gentry from, on street, Commissioner Francisco mentioned something about the, static display. Hopefully that would, might appear. I know it's been mentioned here a couple, 3 months ago, maybe, and maybe with this new agreement with the, CRTC and Air Guard, they would up that 810, it's Act 40. And put that thing out front somewhere. I know I've been to Duluth, Minnesota a couple times, and they have multiple static displays. And I think military airplanes are cool anyways, so I'd love to drive by that every day thinking this is the coolest thing ever. And the other thing, it's been getting some attention recently in social media. I know it's not an easy fix, but maybe some in the near future, ways to address some of the recycling program, i.e. Turnover of the material dumpsters, cleanup of the areas around where the dumpsters are, some mechanism to get some volunteer drivers. I think I've heard some stuff in the past year or so talking about the challenges there, but it looks like it's really something that needs addressed.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Did I mention, I just 3-minute comment, public comment, and just state your name and.
Good afternoon, Beth Pelkey, 7011 Long Rapids Road. I'm here on behalf of the Kiwanis Club of Alpena. Every year I've been up here 25, 26 years. We have taken leadership on the National Day of Prayer Breakfast, and that is next week, Thursday, May 2nd. I sent a mass email. I don't know if you've gotten it or not, but I wanted to do a gentle reminder because we are cooking for people. We do serve a top $10. I would like to know by next Monday or Tuesday at the latest, if you're able to come, you can raise your hand and let me know. Or either respond to the email, and in the email is my cell number if you want to text me. But we would like to invite you all to come. I don't think we've ever invited the commissioners or city council in mass. We're real fortunate that our law enforcement and our fire department has always been very well represented. So we'd like to invite you there. Laura Hoffman, she's the spiritual care manager at the My Michigan Hospital. I was just hospitalized a few weeks ago. She's a wonderful lady. She's going to be our speaker. So It's a good, it is 6:30 in the morning. Sometimes that's kind of a return for people that don't like to get up that early. I just wanted to go ahead and extend the invitation one more time, just in case it got lost in your email.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Never get over it. I get up at 6 o'clock and
I know. I was gonna be.
Get up at 4 buses every day.
I got a one-off this year.
Nancy Mc, 134 tunnel. I would just like to suggest the comment section go at the beginning like it was, because by now, if anything we were to comment, you've already voted on and made your decisions on. It'd be nice if you heard our thoughts before you voted on them. Thank you.
Any other public comment? Any public comment from the online?
No one's raising their hands.
No other public. comment?
Wait, I do. Okay, so he's gonna be really, really mad at me. But yep, Sheriff Eric Smith, can you stand up for a second, please? Okay, so last night our sheriff was recognized and given an award, from all of his staff and Under Sheriff Cash Kroll. He was given a commendation of service. I'm going to take a quick moment to read this out loud. I want to take a moment to acknowledge your remarkable contributions and convey my gratitude for your exceptional dedication and efforts. I would like to award Sheriff Eric Smith with a commendation for his dedication and leadership. Your unwavering commitment and exceptional skills have had a significant impact on the sheriff's office, and I am truly impressed by the level of excellence you consistently demonstrate. Sheriff Smith has had numerous accomplishments in the last 2 years. He has managed to replace the entire fleet of vehicles and equip the the patrol cars with in-car recording systems. Sheriff Eric Smith has obtained body-worn cameras for the department as well. He was able to obtain funding for 14 road patrol positions, including a deputy on the Huron Undercover Narcotics Team, and successfully fill all the open positions. The sheriff's office has been able to restore a 24-hour road patrol service, which has not been a consistent service offered for some time. Sheriff Smith has also placed a deputy in the court complex to improve security and improve communications with the various courts and county personnel. Sheriff Smith has experienced extremely low staffing in the road patrol and correction division over the last few years. He has recruited and hired staff quickly. This was not an easy task, and he went above and beyond to overcome that challenge. I have observed Sheriff Smith create a great working relationship with the Board of Commissioners to gain their support. That relationship has led to him securing funding to begin replacing our obsolete radios. He's continuously attending meetings and other functions after hours to better the office. His innovative thinking has benefited the inmate population, the office staff, and the community. Sheriff Smith has established a relationship with the Catholic Human Services to provide a full-time social worker on site for the inmate populations at no cost to the county of Alpena. Sheriff Smith has restarted and enhanced a drug and alcohol screening program and other inmate services to generate revenue for the county due to a financial deficit within the county of Alpena. He has also collaborated with Border Patrol, which will bring 2 resident agents to the 4-county area to combat illegal immigration. These agents will be able to assist the department staff through investigative support. By creating this partnership, okay, hold that. It allows these agents to utilize our facility and work in conjunction with our road patrol to enhance the safety and security of our community. It has truly been an honor to work alongside you and experience all of the profound changes you have made for the sheriff's office. Your dedication to the continued success of the sheriff's office is commendable. And you've been a sheriff for 3 years?
2 years.
2 years. So thank you.
Yeah, we did
Who
both.
wrote the commendation?
Under Sheriff Cash Kroll.
Can I make a quick comment?
Yes.
Honestly, I don't like suck up, so I came down hard on them. Biggest thing is, I know he put my name on that, but it's buses.
Yeah.
And this job is easy when we have these good partnerships, and good cooperation. So I just want to point that out. As we face obstacles, it's a group that's going to get through it, not just one person. So just keep that in mind as we go forward.
Well, we're super proud of you. Thank you. Okay, and I'm done now. I went so fast. I was trying to read quick, so I stumbled on a word.
Any other final public comments?
I'll make a motion to
Motion
adjourn.
to adjourn, support. Support. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
So adjourn.
Adjourn. Okay, sorry, I gotta go. I gotta downstate. Oh, I gotta leave. I'm supposed to be in Bay City in 2 hours.
Don't worry.
And I feel like I'm not gonna make it.
I will be camping in the shed.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I know, right? Great. Sure, it's. It'd be great. Well, it's tough to know.